Hello and welcome back to HyzerMedia's coverage of the 2023 Disc Golf Open of Pennsylvania, presented by Home Again Disc Golf. Thank you to our coverage sponsors, Cosmic Disc Golf, D-Town Disc Golf, and Reaper Disc Supply. I'm Nathan Johnson, and I'm joined in the booth by Dylan Horst.
Hello, Nathan. Excited to watch the second half of the round. And here we are, hole 10, par 4, 580 feet. The idea here, throw a nice soft hyzer to the landing zone here, or if you want to be aggressive, push the forehand flex shot up to here. And then the idea is to try to hit this right-hand gap, have it nestle nice and softly before the backside of the green that kind of dips down into a fence line.
Yep, Harry's lining up the aggressive line, that flex forehand that you talked about, but unfortunately just overturns it a little bit, catches a left side tree. If I'm being honest, I say flex forehand, but it's really more of like a hyzer flip to drift forehand, because you really got to push it through this initial gap before it starts to move to the left. Otherwise, you're going to catch those trees that Harry found.
Yeah, it's a really tough shot. Like, I was fortunate enough here to throw a little bit of hyzer, kind of drifting around, little high, but landed in the middle. But yeah, like you said, it's kind of tough to rip something over to hit the gap because it's so far forward, and not too many people have that much power on the forehand to get it there that quickly enough to kind of then pan its way out.
Yeah, it's a pretty tight angle to hit, and Jesse using the full width of the fairway really to move it right to left, and gets his full flight of it out of his disc and catches a nice tree there at the end too to keep him in the middle. But I think the miss here is definitely, if you're going with that forehand, to push it a little too straight or right. The left side can get you into some serious trouble if you overturn this one, as this comes out early for Travis. Yeah, it might have pushed far enough up there that he can have something.
Yeah, went pretty far straight on the right-hand side. We didn't see it hit anything for a long time. And then as Harry here is kind of just getting back in position, Travis was fortunate enough to get pretty far forward. And, you know, he has the ability now to try to craft something through this, but at least it's better than hitting early.
Yeah, I mean, a good amount of forward progress. I'm sure he'll take it. And even, again, a great amount of forward progress there. Actually goes deep of the basket, surprisingly. We'll have an uphill putt coming back at it.
And then here's Harry trying to throw his upshot, trying to throw, I think it's at P2 again. Try and just push it straight and then nestle kind of nice and softly before it hits the downslope.
Yeah, also juices it a little bit, comes in a little deep. It's going to have that uphill putt we talked about. Yeah, distance control is the most important thing on this upshot. That downhill slope behind the basket comes up really quick. So you either got to have a really good amount of touch on your shot, or kind of just drive it into the ground and hope that it slows down and kind of catches those rocks. Either way, gonna have to get your disc to stop on this upshot.
Yeah, Jesse here, a nice floaty upshot, lands basically right next to the basket. It was a fantastic slight nose upshot that kind of just hits the ground nice and soft, scoots right to the basket.
Yeah, that was super smooth. So here's Travis, went quite a ways deep, has this uphill putt. And those uphill putts coming back at the basket on this hole just feel so long. Like, you might have a 60-footer, but you're putting it at pretty much as hard as you can to try to get it pin high.
Yeah, that was a putt. As soon as he let go, he was watching his feet and it almost went in. And then Harry, unfortunately, just a little high. But I thought Travis made that from way down the hill.
So you came in a little bit short. This is kind of a death putt from just about circle's edge, but you are able to connect. Really nice birdie to pick up. Definitely gaining strokes on the field on hole 10.
Yeah, hole 10 played right around par as a 4 average. So great hole here. I think it played a little bit over average the first round. So it seems like everybody figured it out this round.
Yeah, maybe playing a little more, some players playing a little more conservative off the tee. You know, trying to not lose strokes per se.
Hole 11, par 3, 310 feet. We're playing from the short silver tee off of this. The idea here is to push either a forehand hyzer kind of through this gap to skip forward and land straight, or to throw it forced over backhand that flattens out the whole way. Never really gets on hyzer, but just flattens out and then kind of slides its way right up to the basket.
Yeah, you're opting for the forehand, catches one of those backside of those trees on the backside of the fairway. Um, I think the purest forehand line is kind of like a slight hyzer flip forehand that kind of is moving right the whole time, but is also pushing straight to make that gap as big as possible. But either way, like if you throw the forehand and hit the gap like Jesse did, you're gonna usually find yourself with some sort of putt.
Yeah, Jesse hit the inside gap with the forehand, kind of popped up a little straight. Disc was a little too stable for what he was looking for, but it still hit the main gap, pushed forward. Travis here kind of does the same shot and just fortunate enough to miss that last tree and skip a little forward.
Yep, yeah, you'll find a lot of putts in that cluster of trees that's short right of the basket is kind of a common collection area on this hole. Harry is going to line up to make it 4 for 4 forehands on this hole. And yeah, gets a bit more ground action than the other members of the card, but he'll still have a putt over there. You're definitely trying to throw this one in, right?
Yep.
Oh man, Dylan, you're like all over the basket. Every single one of these, I'm just waiting for it to find the chance.
I know one of these days we'll just have a round that everything goes in one day.
Yeah. Wait, I think I watched that one on coverage already, actually. Go back and watch. If you're watching this and you haven't watched our White Rose Open coverage, you got to check that out. Harry comes up a little short on his birdie luck, kind of had a low ceiling to deal with over there. Here's Travis now from where his drive landed. Super solid putt to connect for the birdie from about 27 feet.
Here's Jesse, little closer, clips that last tree, but still is relatively really close. Perfect putt right on the stripe. And that actually puts him in the lead for our card.
Yeah, 16 under par. Definitely cruising. I believe last year 32 or 33 under was the mark to win the tournament. So we'll see kind of where it ends up being this year.
Hole 12, par 4, 537 feet. There are two gaps or two initial shots to hit. You have the forehand pushing hyzer off the left-hand side, which you'll see from Jesse. You also have a backhand turnover on the right-handed gap. So Jesse's trying to kind of push this straight and then finish right to kind of go with the grade. Seems like he's doing that pretty well, kind of going just over the silver pad, getting a good skip, forward progress, and in a good spot.
Yeah, that's a nice shot. The danger on this hole comes in that slope that goes down to the left. If you throw the backhand like Travis is doing here, you got to make sure you turn it over and really commit to the shot, or you could get into some trouble if you fade down that hill. Maybe a little low, gets kind of a cut roll action there, but he's able to hit the fairway, makes good progress. That should be fine.
Then I'm opting for the forehand again. I'm trying to basically hit the same line Jesse hit. If anything, just with a tad more power to kind of push it a little straighter and then try to, in a way, get a little sneaky as you kind of get through the gap, but just hit the initial first gap.
Hits the gap maybe a little left of what you wanted, but oh, it's fighting through really well. Spins the cameraman. That's way down there.
Yeah, it kind of turned over a little quick, but hey, forward progress is forward progress. And then here's Harry. Yeah, and then here's Harry trying to throw, I think it's FD, a little bit of hyzer, kind of hit the gap, pulls it just a tad, but makes its way through just a little bit. I think a little farther than the first round, but yeah, he's just going to have to craft something from here, patent pending.
Yeah, he's going to have a sneaky little line. Yeah, that purple disc, I believe, is an FD. Like you said, this is going to have to be some sort of sneaky little flex backhand. Doesn't quite hit the line. There is a pure line on this hole, which you can see Travis is lining up, but there's also a lot of sneaky little backdoor gaps. If you're a little off, you can kind of get lucky. Oh, Travis actually going for the wide gap. That's really well done. Didn't even see it off from where he was lining it up.
Then yeah, here's Jesse's. Yeah, there's a bunch of little gaps to hit. It's really just pick your most comfortable shot. Jesse just kind of pulling it just a little bit too much, but had the right idea. It looked like the right pace. It just pulled it a little right.
Yeah, so Harry, the you can see the main fairway is this line over here to our left now, that Harry's throwing down, which is it is pretty clean all the way to the basket, but it's easy to kick a tree, kick yourself off the fairway, and then have to find an alternative route. Is this where your drive landed?
It is.
Oh my gosh, and another great run. Just a little bit high. That would have been for eagle. Ooh, maybe a little bit of a run there from Jesse, I think. It's going to leave him a longer par putt than he'd like. About circle's edge long. Coming back towards the basket. That's not a problem. He's feeling good right now. In a really good rhythm on the putting green. Forehand's feeling pretty solid.
Yeah, his putt just looks pure coming out. Hitting a good one on three kind of set the tone for the round. And yeah, his putting has been pretty online.
Yeah, nice putt from yourself as well after kind of giving it a safe little bid for eagle there on the second shot. Travis had a really nice upshot as well. So that'll leave him short tap in for his birdie.
Hole 13, par 3, 287 feet. For right-handed backhand players, you want to throw something semi-stable on a little bit of ante through the gap that flattens out, kind of hitting the biggest part of the fairway. For a left-handed player, most likely would be the forehand, or you could throw like a hyzer flip backhand to kind of push straight just as far as you possibly can. Travis here, a little bit of an early release. Conditions were still an issue. Just kind of pushes straight and hit that cluster of trees on the left-hand side.
Yeah, it's a tricky little gap to hit. Like you said, you kind of want to get something moving left to right out of the hand to make that gap as big as possible. You're able to do really well with that putter. Pretty much just pure it. Give yourself a nice 20, 25 footer on the right hand side of the basket. And that's kind of the mistake to make, right? If you're gonna miss, just overturn the disc a little bit. There's plenty of airspace over there on the right hand side, and you'll still most likely have yourself a putt.
There's Jesse, kind of just pulls it a little bit right. Again, conditions, it was just raining a little bit ago and a little bit of moisture on the hand, kind of trying to hyper focus on this little gap. Gets pretty tough.
Yeah, just pulled it. Harry doesn't even see the gap. Oh, catches a late tree, but pretty favorable kick to keep him moving forward and leave him with a short putt. Travis, after an early left release, kind of has a tricky little stance here. Looking to get up and down and save a par. Kind of little hop step. Just catches a late tree. Leave him about circle's edge short with an uphill putt. Jesse actually pretty favorable kick for hitting early right. Gives it even a little bid there from maybe 80 feet or so. But that'll still be a pretty easy par.
And then Travis here for par. A little bit of a tester putt, but Travis is putting the work, so his putting's pretty solid. Save the par.
Yeah, his putting's been solid all round so far. Really haven't seen him miss too much. Same for yourself. That was a nice birdie putt there from about 25 feet. Well done. And yeah, Harry with a nice little kiss off the tree at the end of the flight to keep him close. He'll have
Yeah, this is one
15.
Yeah, this is a hole after a couple holes in a row where tough birdies. It's nice to kind of get this one kind of started off and hit a nice line before going into the next hole as par 5.
Yeah, this is the stretch of the course where you can really get into a rhythm. Pretty much every hole from here on out is very birdieable if you're clean off the tee. So players are looking to get into a rhythm and finish strong.
Hole 14, par 5, 732 feet. The idea is to throw a pushing hyzer for right-hand and backhand players to land at the main gap, and then try to throw either backhand or forehand, your most comfortable shot, and try to get down this fairway as far as you can. If you're fortunate enough to get down to here, it'll be a nice scramble shot right up to the basket to get your easy birdie.
Yeah, we did have two eagles on this hole in round one. So, and both of those players are on this cart. So we'll see if Travis or Harry is able to replicate that magic from round one. But looks like you're going to be teeing off first here with kind of a pushing flip up hyzer. And that is way down there. Wow, what a shot. A little bit on the left-hand side might be a tricky scramble kind of second, but with how much you were able to bite off the tee, that's going to put you in a really nice position.
And
Here's
here we have
Harry
Harry.
now. The same gap that he hit in round one, but unfortunately doesn't get quite as lucky in the afternoon. That catches one of those trees and it's going to put him in a tough spot.
Here we have Travis trying to hit the main gap as well, throwing something a little stable, a little bit off the hyzer to try to push to flat. Kind of gets a little bit too much power on it, pushes a little straight, but forward progress is always good on this hole. Since it is a par 5, you have almost a stroke to kind of mess around with to put yourself back in a good spot.
Yeah, it's kind of a common miss you'll see on this hole is people just pushing too far straight. That tree in the backside of the fairway comes in a little quicker than you'd expect as Jesse gets a little sneaky on the left-hand side and he's able to push well into that gap. That'll put him in a really nice spot as well. So you can actually see that T sign is for the silver pad on this hole, which is kind of at the top of the hill on the right-hand side of the fairway. It's a par 4 from there, so still very doable from where Harry is at. Looks like he's able to punch up there quite a bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, he was in the stinging nettles, so got a little payback there from first round, not getting so fortunate to get through it. Then Travis here trying to throw a forehand through the gap, gets pretty far down the fairway, puts himself in position to try to scramble his way up to the basket to get the birdie.
Yeah, anywhere, any ways down the hill after two is just fine. Jesse kind of pinched a bit on the left-hand side of the fairway, catches a tree, and that's going to kick him pretty far off to the left. Um, I'm sure not what he was looking for there. And looks like you're going to try to sneak your way down through this back door left-hand side, but also catch a tree. Pretty good kick though to get all the way down to the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, it was generous. It was an early release and kind of grazed off the tree. So yeah, very fortunate there. Harry trying to do stand deliver. I think it was a mid, trying to push straight, kind of kicks something, kicks right. So unfortunately, not in a good spot for birdie, but in a pretty good spot to kind of pitch up and get his par. Maybe give it a little bit of a bid.
Yeah, Travis is on the left-hand side of the fairway over here, and pitching down to the bottom of the hill. That comes up quite a bit short, but he'll probably have a circle two look from there. Looks like Jesse's over here on the left-hand side as well, with a bit of a turnover forehand. Oh, and that's a very friendly tree right there, acting as a backstop to keep him close to the basket. He might have been out in that open field if he did not catch that one.
Here we have Harry trying to throw his upshot for 4, throws it a little long, wanted the bird, but still puts himself inside the circle for a relatively routine putt, probably about 20, 25 feet.
So this is your third as well. Just looking to pitch up there, take the easy birdie. Yep, that's well done. So now here's Travis. This should be for his birdie, I believe, from about 50 feet. Just comes up a little short, didn't quite commit to that one.
Yeah, this is definitely a hole that each one of us want to get. It averaged 4.56, so almost a half stroke under par. It's one of those ones where if you get far enough off the tee, have a pretty good shot for eagle, but most players just want to get down the hill and try to get that birdie.
Yeah, if you throw a good tee shot, you've almost guaranteed yourself at least a birdie, as long as you don't catch multiple early trees on the hole. So, uh, but we did see some stroke. Oh, is Jesse just a little off on that putt? Had to straddle around the tree and looked like pretty heavy chains, but just doesn't quite stick. He's gonna have to
Hess.
settle for the par.
Hole 15, par 4, 373 feet. Throwing a nice power forehand to probably get to this landing zone, or throwing a long turnover to try to get to the same landing zone. From there, it's a pushing hyzer or a pushing and hyzer forehand upshot to the basket. It's kind of dealer's choice on the second shot. The first shot as well as dealer's choice, whether you want to throw the right gap, the left gap. Pick the gap you feel the most comfortable with and just try to hit it.
Yep, you hit the gap pretty well. Caught a kind of a later tree and pretty favorable kick as well. Pretty much no matter where you throw your tee shot on this hole, you're gonna have a chance to get up and down for the birdie. It's just a matter of how straightforward that shot is gonna be. We saw Harry with a jump putt in round one, a very straightforward birdie after a great tee shot. This one was very solid as well. Maybe not quite jump putt range, but he made his way well up the fairway.
Here we have Travis trying to throw the right gap. Kind of that pushing hyzer, but kicks one of the last trees going up there. What's crazy about this hole is even though he hits something far up the fairway, he's still in position to birdie. Since it's only 373 feet, you can kind of craft something up there with a nice mid or even a fairway driver to get up to the basket for birdie.
Nice shot from Jesse there as well. This did play as the easiest hole in round two, coming in at 3.39 strokes. So bunch of the field is taking birdies on this hole as Travis is going to have a look to take one for himself. This was four pretty good drives on this hole. Usually you see at least one or two people on your cart get caught up early and have a tougher scramble, but everybody here was able to bite off a good amount of distance and should have some pretty straightforward upshots here. Hey, left here's a little bit short there. This green can be tricky. It's a bit deceptive because you can't really see the basket on your upshot unless you get way up the fairway.
Yeah, it's one of those holes you almost take for granted. It's, depending how far you go up, you think you can throw a nice easy upshot and kind of just mental lapse just a little bit. That kind of forces a lot of people to get the par.
Yeah, so you're left with this one from about circle's edge for the birdie, but not a problem. Tailwind putt drops right into the center of the chains. It's a good one to pick up. So Travis, after going a little bit deep, looks like a headwind putt here with the wind coming up the hill. Maybe just a little bit of lift there. Catches the top of the basket, doesn't quite stick.
Unfortunately, just doesn't drop. Yeah, it was a good bid, right on line, just a little too high.
Yeah, so 3 birdies on this hole, pretty much what we would expect as we move on to hole 16.
Hole 16, par 4, 737 feet. This is the bomber hole. Throw as far as you humanly can. And then from there, you have a low ceiling upshot to get to the basket. So as soon as basically you throw as far as you possibly can, forehand, backhand. From there, you do have to craft something a little low, but the ground play by the basket is friendly. So you can kind of hit something a little short, and then it kind of skids its way up to the basket.
Big max distance line from yourself. Looking to bite off as much as possible. Shout out to Eric, too, for being out there all day spotting on this hole. The grass tends to get a little long as they don't really mow it before Memorial Day, is what I've heard. So it can be a little tricky to find discs, but with Eric out there, very much appreciated. Harry's going to give this one a full rip. Hyzer flip to turn. That is way up there.
Always nice to get the catch cam to turn around. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, let's see if Jesse can match. He's got a good amount of distance himself. We did have a fairly stiff headwind on this hole on the day, so might have to throw a little bit more stable of a disc than most players would like. But it looked like Jesse picked the right disc for this line. Eric's got to move out of the way, but that's a really nice shot.
Yeah, all of us seem to learn from round one, throwing something a little more stable with that headwind. The headwind was a little stronger this time around, so trying to learn, throw something a little bit more. As we see Travis throwing a nice hyzer flip that gets the full turn and then the full fade for maximum distance.
Yeah, nice line. He's going to be a little bit on the right-hand side, but it doesn't really matter where you land in this fairway. You just got to find a way to make it work coming into the green. You're opting for the forehand, which kind of tickles some of those branches, scoots in there nicely. For a putt, Jesse kind of likes that same line. And that's well done. He'll have a birdie putt of his own.
Yeah, the toughest part about the upshot is just the low ceiling. You just don't want to give it too much air. But at the same time, you want to make sure you push it enough to get it over the tall grass and kind of skid up to the basket. Travis here does it perfectly. Kind of having that little bit of a hyzer window, gets just around the big tree and just kind of skids a little bit forward for a park job.
Yeah, and Harry's way up there. If it weren't for the low ceiling, I think he could probably jump putt that, but instead is just going to opt for a simple little forehand pitch up.
Yeah, I think you
So
might be able to see a video on his Facebook or Instagram of him playing a practice round on this one and carding the eagle. So make sure to follow and support him throughout the year.
yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that he can reach this one in two, or in one, I should say, as Jesse just a little low. And that one splashes out as well. Some putting issues recently. Jesse was looking really solid in the front nine in early parts of this round with on the greens, but had a couple slip ups in the last couple of holes.
Yeah, hoping to finish the round strong. It's just a little bit off. I think both of the putts that he missed were just a tad off to the right.
A little uncommitted. Maybe it's the wetness, or it could be the wind, or maybe just mental lapse, like you said. Who knows?
Here we are at hole 17, par 4, 519 feet. You want to throw a nice straight shot to this gap landing zone right here, which will give you the widest gap going up to the pin. However you want to get there, forehand or backhand, and then on your second shot, dealer's choice on forehand or backhand. I'm going with something stable in the forehand to try to hit that gap. Kind of pushes out a little too straight with the wind, but still have somewhat of a technical gap, but can still make it work.
Yeah, there's still a couple gaps, smaller gaps over there on the left-hand side. The gaps are a little bit tighter on the right-hand side. So if you're going to miss, I think that's probably the side to do it on. It's going to be tricky over there where Harry is. He is close enough to the uphill slope that he won't have to deal with those branches as much, but it'll still be tricky over there.
Then here we have Travis throwing a textbook shot right in the middle, a little off to the left. Then he could throw either forehand or backhand up to the basket for birdie.
Yeah, that's going to make his upshot pretty much wide open from there. That is pretty much exactly the place that you want to land. This is leaking quite a ways to the left for Jesse. He's going to be over near the silver tee pad, kind of where we found you in round one. Again, the gaps over here, they exist, but they're pretty small, so he's going to have to get sneaky here. And just doesn't quite hit the gap that he was going for. Catches an early tree, and he's going to be in scramble mode from there.
Yeah, Travis trying to throw this forehand upshot, trying to hang it out left. Unfortunately, kind of rips over a little bit on it. It's going to be a very scary putt outside the circle with the downward sloping off to the right. So it's going to be pretty tricky on his next shot.
Yeah, this is one of the more treacherous greens on the course, I'd say, with the basket on that fairly steep slope. So if you can stick it close, definitely takes a lot of stress off. So you're having to kind of stretch out forehand here for a bit of a low ceiling. going uphill. Not the easiest line. And it just comes out a little bit low. Get a bit of cut roll action there. Leave yourself with a long uphill putt. So this is
Jesse
for
just trying to
Jesse.
get close, throwing a nice forehand around the outside. Pretty routine for him, throwing pretty consistent touch forehand shots throughout the day.
Yeah, Jesse has a really solid forehand. Shots like that, he can execute in his sleep. This is going to be a really long uphill putt for you. Catches a bit of a rock, but stays close to the basket. So here's Travis now, just outside the circle. Basket high on the left-hand side, but can't quite connect.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky putt because you can get really bad reactions off this, and then it would just roll down the hill. Harry here, perfect putt right into the wind. Wind kind of keeps it up and right on the pole.
Yeah, the only birdie on the card really. 17 is it's a tricky birdie. You really do have to execute two good shots to grab the two. As Travis is going to drop a stroke there with a three putt. Pretty unfortunate break. Definitely don't want to be dropping strokes here this late in the round. But it is the end of the day, long day, 2 rounds of disc golf. I'm sure these players are tired. The weather kind of takes a lot of that energy out of you. So you got to focus up, lock in here, and try to finish strong.
And we made it. Hole 18, par 4, 574 feet. What you want to do here is pure your drive out into the open as far as you can, whether that be forehand or backhand. It's dealer's choice. Harry here is going with the backhand to try to push out with a mid. Unfortunately, hits one of the last trees coming out. If you can get out into the open, your second shot is just a pretty easy routine upshot to an elevated basket.
Yep, so you opt for the forehand here. Just trying to punch it through and fade off a bit towards the basket on the right-hand side. Just catches a late branch. But that's still scrambleable. Anything out towards the edge of that edge of the rough is still very scrambleable.
Yeah, there's pretty strong wind coming up this hill, so kind of tended to turn everything over. Harry's didn't quite turn over. Mine turned over a little much. As Jesse here, fortunate enough to get through the branches and finds himself in a pretty good spot to try to attack that elevated basket for birdie.
Yep, and Travis, he opts for the backhand here off the tee. Just something drift a little bit from left to right, and that is pretty much as good as you could draw it up, way up the fairway. Might even be able to jump putt that into the basket. Looks like you're next to the silver tee here.
Yep, just in front of it. Have the same gap, so probably about like 370. All downhill, just trying to get down there close to the basket. Lands pretty close, and then unfortunate little bounce and roll. Puts me to just outside the circle, probably like 45 away.
Yeah, pretty long putt. A little scary on that elevated basket. So one you might think about laying up or giving it a soft bit at least. Harry's got, there was a great forehand, hits the base, and a really unfortunate roll away out into circle two after a really solid shot.
Yeah, that was one of those shots that if it was a foot or two short, it would have been perfect and stopped right on a dime. But and Jesse here almost skipping off the front and giving it a little bit of a metal, getting a little bit of a metal tap, but still right there for a birdie.
Yeah, luckily he stays close, and Travis, after the best drive of the group, has no more than a jump putt in. Not even interested in giving that a run, just lays it up. He's content with the tap in birdie to finish out his day. So here's Harry after hitting the base, rolling out into circle two. He's got about a 50-foot comebacker and just doesn't quite commit to the height. Oh my gosh, and gets another bit of a roll. Luckily, that one doesn't go too far. And yourself also went a little bit deep, about a 40-footer, coming back for birdie. It just fades out a little bit to the left.
Now those elevated baskets, it's hard to fully commit. As
Yeah,
Harry
we
right there does a great job of fully committing to save his par.
yeah, nice cleanup there. Yeah, there's definitely still some swirling winds. You can see the rain coming down. Um, tough putt to really execute to end your day, but that par will be just fine to keep yourself at 19 under after two really solid rounds here at Muddy Run. That'll put you in the lead, at least on the card. We'll see what the rest of the field is doing.
Yeah, I mean, a solid day of 9 under, 10 under. It's one of those courses that's pretty scoreable, but trouble happens quick. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
anything
far.
close to double digits is a great round. Putting up two of those back to back is a very solid day. We see birdies from Travis and Jesse to get them to 17 under and 18 other respectively. It was a fun day. Fun round, 2 rounds at Muddy Run. For round 3 and 4, we head over to Klein's Run to finish out this B tier. Taking a look at the leaderboard, Chris Villa, after a tough first round, bounces back 12 under par to find himself on the lead card. Dylan, you and Jesse will stay on the lead card, and Lucas Oberholzer Hess, after a 9 under second round, jumps up to round out the lead card. Thank you to the Norse gods and our Patreon family for supporting this coverage. We couldn't do it without you. And stick around, subscribe. We got 2 more rounds of the Disc Golf Open of Pennsylvania coming up on HyzerMedia. You're not going to want to miss it.
The weather will be better, so check it out.